Hey guys, welcome back to the WODdoc Project 365, episode 586. Back in the gym, doing a little bit of TFL quadratus lumborum stretches. So that means that we're going to get the low back area right here, but also these accessory hip flexors, even a little bit of glute medius in there as well. The abductors of the hips we're going to be able to get as well. So the way we're doing is we're setting this up as a progressive mobilization. You'll see what I mean in just 1 second. Let's talk about the way that we have it set up first. What we have is a low seated bar, okay? It's only about a foot, half a foot off the ground. You can see that we have the J-hook set up and then the bar comes over like this. The reason why we use a bar is because when Rodrigo gets in here, I don't want his foot to end up moving. So, hold on, give me 1 sec. So from right here, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get in this kind of like Baywatch position, I like to call it, right? Because basically, he looks like a little Pamela Anderson on the cover of Baywatch, right? So from right there, what I want Rodrigo to do is throw his foot up from right there. Now, the reason why I said this before, how we have this bar that goes across, is because we don't want his foot turning any place, and we want to be able to get a little bit of torque throughout this lower extremity. Now, when Rodrigo sets up, the first thing that everybody tends to do is get a little hip flexion in here, and this is what he's doing as well. He likes to set up with a little bit of flexion here, right? And we want him to be fully extended. So what I'm gonna try to get him to do is just bump his hips forward and straighten out that leg nice, okay? This hip still stays there just like that. The reason why I said it's a progressive mobilization is because this position, although he's pretty mobile and he can get into this position, that's great. Not a lot of people will be able to, so we're gonna start with 2 ab mats, all right? So we're gonna stick these underneath his hip, all right? And then from right there, what we want him to do is we want him to square up his hip, okay? Make sure that this foot stays evenly planted on the bar. Square up his hip, and he's also gonna square up his shoulders. Now what you're gonna notice here is there's a nice curvature in his spine. He's kind of leaning to one side. This bottom part is dropped down. The mobilization is gonna come, he's gonna drive through his elbow, and he's gonna lift his torso up. That's gonna make this nice neutral spine. That's what we're looking for. He's gonna hold right there. When he does that, you'll feel tension that will start to build in this lower back area and in the anterior hip flexors and that side of the hip there. That's where your glute medius and glute minimus is, and then TFL and even the quadratus lumborum on the bottom side. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through 5 repetitions like this on a 3-second count. So he's gonna pull up, stack the shoulders, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, and come on back down. Come on back up, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, and so forth, right? You get that part. But from right there, once we finish with 5 repetitions, I'm gonna go ahead, or if you're doing this by yourself, take 1 ab mat out, all right? So we're progressively getting a little bit harder, all right? Scooch back just a little bit so your foot doesn't fall off. Down towards the rig. So yeah, there you go. You want to make sure that this hip doesn't get into a flex position, that it's still in a neutral position. So we're going to just reposition real quick. And we want to make sure that the shoulder stays square or stacked. Now from right here, he's going to drive through that elbow. And basically what he's trying to do is he's trying to bring this shoulder up on top and stack it on top of that shoulder. We don't necessarily want to come forward, but that's not a bad thing, because what that does is that creates internal rotation at the hip. So if that's a part that's tight for you, that's gunked up for you, it's good to be able to turn the hip down a little bit if you have to, okay? That's absolutely fine. Everybody has a little tight spot, a little bit different spots. So again, everything still goes the same. We pull this back up, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, and back down. We do 5 repetitions, scooch this out, and now we're on the ground. This is gonna be the hardest spot for us, okay? Make sure the hips are still stacked up. Make sure the hip is still neutral. Make sure it's still blocked off from the toe. And make sure these shoulders are still stacked up squarely like this. And now we're just going to try to raise that shoulder on top of each other. And you're going to notice that we get the most stretch down in here. Why do we do this progressively? Because it takes us a little bit to warm up on this. If we just jump right into it, when Rodrigo brings this shoulder up, a lot of times his hip is going to pop up too, and that's not what we want, okay? So we do this in a 3-stage process. You can add as many stages as you want. You go 3, 5, 7, it doesn't necessarily matter, but 3 seems to work out really, really well. So here's what we got. 15 repetitions, a 3 count with each. Every time we hit 5 repetitions, we drop 1 pad out. Sound cool? Cool?
Cool.
Cool. Guys, I hope this helps you out, and until tomorrow, we're optimizing function to optimize performance.